Having these is the secret to health, wealth, happiness, and joy. I'm Dr. Joel Feeman, and today I want to talk with you about thoughts. As you know, developing habits can be either good or bad. The importance, however, when it comes to thoughts is this will largely dictate how you go through every aspect of your day. You may have heard the old saying, do you see your glass as half full or half empty? Well, if you're like me, and most people for that matter, you know people who look at things and think in a healthy manner. It's where they have positive outlooks and they're recognizing the blessings all around, the things that they do have. But in the same sense, you may have also noticed that it seems like there's more people who would tend towards a negativity in terms of their mindset and how they perceive their glass to be. In other words, they view their circumstance, their life, or whatever it may be as having a glass that's half empty rather than being half full. Listen, even if you're one who thinks positively on a routine basis, life can sometimes be challenging. So whether it be negative, hurtful thoughts of the past or perhaps fears of the future, we all have these thoughts at some point or another. The thing is, when these thoughts arrive, we have to be conscious of them and right away make a decision to change that thought and not get stuck in the trap of letting a negative, hurtful thought overcome us or overtake us to the point where it leads us down a direction that doesn't bring life. And when it does that, what happens, as you know, is it takes away from the enjoyment and the fulfillment of life in the present. You see, sometimes the difficulty comes in the fact that life can happen, and in that life, especially when it comes to the past, bad things occur. In fact, it's basically impossible to go through life without some type of negative outcomes or experiences or situations occurring. But how you deal with those things is what has the lasting impact when it comes to your life. One of the things to keep in mind is the fact that although some things will happen that can be negative and hurtful, those things can also be positive in a way that they cause us to be directed in a certain way. In other words, some of those things, as hurtful and difficult as they may be in the past, can also be some of the key driving forces that give us the direction to put us where we are today and give us the dreams and the visions and the desires that we have for the future. At the end of the day, the important thing to realize, though, is that your thoughts are just that. They're yours. In other words, you have the ability to decide what kind of thoughts and what kind of future, and even for that matter, what kind of present you want to have to set the course of your life. Let's face it, there's no benefit to having negative, hurtful thoughts on a regular basis that only cause destruction. Therefore, if your thoughts are enhancing your life and making your life a better one, then perhaps it's time to change. There are a few quotes in scriptures that I like to share with you, but before I do that, I want to remind you how this is one thing that can forever shift your life. You have to keep in mind that as we learn about different habits and what we can do, it's all really about long-term sustainable life, emotional, mental, spiritual, and even physical health. Many people know the verse in Jeremiah 29:11 where it says, "For I know the plans and thoughts that I have for you, declares the Lord." That's in the Amplified version. In many versions it just says plans. However, in that particular version, the Amplified, it says plans and thoughts. And I look at that and I think about the importance, once again, of how your plans and your thoughts have to be in a congruent manner. Otherwise, we can say we want something or make a plan to do something, but in the same sense, if our thoughts don't align in that and there's an incongruency in that, of course, there's going to be a problem. So this comes with no surprise how those things are paired together. Also in the Amplified version of Proverbs 4:23, it says, "Watch over your heart and mind with all diligence, for from it flow springs of life." Norman Vincent Peale also once said, "Change your thoughts and you change your world." I also recall reading a quote from Susan Taylor that said, "Thoughts have power. Thoughts are energy. You can make your world or break your world by your own thinking." You see, the truth is there are many different scriptures and positive quotes that you can Google and you can read the Bible and different motivational books. But I wanted to share with you just a couple of those because I want you to realize that it's something that we all have to become conscious to and recognize the fact that it's a constant discipline to be able to train our thinking and even for that matter to recognize when our thinking is off course. I once had a mentor who for decades would wear a rubber band on his wrist. Anytime he would catch himself having a negative or hurtful thought, he would take the rubber band and flick himself on the forearm. Now, as you can imagine, that would become red and swollen at first. Now, and for some people, you would never want to do that because that very act would maybe cause a negative response or negative thinking. So in that case, don't do it. But for him, what he would teach of is the fact that he at first would recognize just how negative, even though he thought he was a positive person, one who would have life-giving, encouraging, thoughts on a regular basis, it trains you to become conscious of those things and then to try to break those patterns. I had another mentor one time where his rule of thumb was anytime he caught himself consciously having a negative thought, whether it be about rainy weather or snow or maybe being late for somewhere or not getting his way in a certain circumstance, what he would constantly say is the words cancel, cancel, cancel on a regular basis. So in other words, you're driving down the road, somebody pulls out in front of you, you have a negative thought, cancel, cancel, cancel. You have a thought, or you say, well, man, if that, this happens, I'm going to fall, or I'm going to have a wreck, or I'm going to be broke, or whatever else. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Because once again, the more we start to recognize those thoughts, the more we start to see the impact in our life and how that's not building us up towards the life of our dreams, but instead it's tearing us down to the life that we don't want. But because we have those thoughts, we generally then will manifest also those words, and we have to harness that if we want to reach a different level when it comes to our overall big picture of sustainable life and health. You see, we all need to learn to live more mindfully, to be able to recognize how we want our lives to be lived, and then when we have these thoughts, that to be able to harness those thoughts, to be able to let them be the driving force to where we want to go, to set that course. And like in Jeremiah 29:11, where it says, your plans and your thoughts declares the Lord, obviously in Scripture, if it was that important to have the plans and thoughts paired together, then there must be something to that. Although there are endless ways to be able to catch yourself having negative thoughts and course correct, next time you do that, do like that one mentor and just say cancel, cancel, cancel. And at the end of that, correct that thought pattern with something that enhances that thought to make it something more positive and life-giving. In other words, if somebody cuts you off, instead of going into all the negative things that you could, why not look at it and say, thank God I'm alive, it wasn't an accident, and this, is so much better. So in other words, look for something positive in every circumstance and have those thoughts and then pair it with your words. And I know your life will be impacted for the better. Again, I'm Dr. Joel Feeman, here to empower you with truth and knowledge so you know exactly what it takes to be healthy, body, mind, and spirit, so you and your family can be as healthy as God created you to be. Until next time, God bless.